Hello, hour number 2 of the Line Talk 995. Talk995.com. Andrew Mclain who.com. And the Talk 995 app, as well as the Talk 995 YouTube. That is a Real Talk 99.5 TV. That'll get you in on the YouTube if you want to watch. You want to watch me cook. That's a way to do it, man. The way to get in on the show, as you know, 205 545 9950, 545 9950. Clarence Thomas dropping his dissent. I'm looking at that now. He says Justice Thomas is dissenting. He said, I joined Justice Kavanaugh's principled dissent in full, and this is about the tariffs. He said, as he explains, the court's decision today cannot be justified as a matter of statutory interpretation. Congress authorizes the president to, quote, regulate importation, end quote. 50 USC 1702. Throughout American history, the authority to regulate importation has been understood to include the authority to impose duties on imports. Post at 9/13/2229, Kavanaugh dissenting. The meaning of that phrase was beyond doubt by the time that Congress enacted the statute. Shortly after President Nixon's highly publicized duties on imports were upheld based on identical language. The statute that the president relied on, therefore, authorized him to impose these duties on imports. So Clarence Thomas is saying, hey, Congress already laid it out during President Nixon's term that Trump has the authority to do this under this particular act. And so I don't agree with the court. The court's like, well, there's this word and there's that word and blah, 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 blah. And so whatever. But here's the thing. If you do some digging, it does appear that Trump does have a plan B with the Supreme Court ruling against him. This contingency plan includes expanded use of Section 232, which was one of two that I mentioned earlier last hour. This is the Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act, which allows tariffs on national security grounds and has already been used to target steel, aluminum, autos, copper, and lumber. And the thing is, SCOTUS did not rule against Section 232. So if you understand that, on national security grounds, everything Trump is dealing with could be classified as national security grounds. So Trump might post his disappointment about the ruling, and he'll go on to say he has no choice but to expand Section 232 or expand on other tariff powers like who knows what. So there's other ways around this where, again, it is disappointing, but I wouldn't I wouldn't be too upset about this because it's already being used. Not all the tariffs were under the IEEPA anyway. As I just said, some things like steel, aluminum, autos, and lumber were under Section 232. So he was using multiple avenues to impose different tariffs. We'll just expand the other ones and put tariffs on all this other stuff. And if you want to spend another year pushing that particular thing to the Supreme Court, knock yourself out. But I think what they've done is they've exhausted one avenue, and they've probably put Trump in a position to where he's going to have the tariffs locked in for sure this time. So There it is. Take that for what it's worth. And I believe that other world leaders understand that. So the deals that are currently in place that Trump has made based on negotiating with these tariffs, I don't think any of that's going to change. I don't think any of these world leaders have the balls to even approach the president and say, "Hey, now that you can't put tariffs on me, I think I'm going to back out." They would never do that. They would never do it. So anyway, if anything pops up on that front, I'll bring it to you. Also, want to talk about New York, but first, let me get Bubba Rumble in the house. What's up, buddy?
Hey now.
Hey now.
So yeah, I'm not too surprised if it's a ruling from the not so Supreme Court because we do have a few dent heads in that court, unfortunately, and we're stuck with them until their tenure runs its course, unfortunately. But you know, I'll make a very unpopular suggestion of what people could do right now to help make a difference while Trump figures out how to work around this.
Okay.
Okay, that's go out of your way to find and buy American-made products, even though they cost more.
It's not a bad idea.
You can do it. Everybody, the power of the economic vote is overlooked so often, and we saw a good example of how powerful the economic vote is with the Bud Light takedown. It's very effective. It sends a message, and since American corporations are moreover ruled by their stockholders, like the monetary message gets through real fast when people's stock portfolios start tanking.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, money talks on almost all fronts. That's going to make a difference quicker than anything.
Absolutely. You talked about steel products and things like that. Like when Trump was in office last time, I all of a sudden I started finding, steel fence posts and American-made steel wire, and I got a new washing machine made in America and all those things. And I didn't think the prices were, too far away from what I'd already been paying. So the American products are out there. And, if people would just concertedly dig in for 1 year, we could turn this whole ship around, because then the corporations would take notice, like, hey, people want American products. Let's do this. But in the meantime, a lot of people are just far too willing to plod off to the big box stores and buy the cheap Chinese junk because they can't afford to support American businesses.
Yeah, and they don't want to put in the effort to find, this, that, or the other. It's just whatever's the cheapest price they're going to go with, which, I mean, you understand to an extent, but unfortunately, I don't think there's enough people out there like me and you that would actually be willing to put our money where our mouth is. Yeah, a lot of people will say, I believe in this, I believe in that, but if it starts to affect them personally or cost them personally or disrupt their day-to-day lives, there's many people that say, okay, that's a bit too far. I think I'll pass on that.
Yeah, and on that same front, kind of, we live in a society where people will go out and spend $1,500 on T-Swizzle tickets to go watch her LARP and lip sync at the concert, and door dashing fast food, so you're already overpaying for food that's not good for you, and then you throw a DoorDash delivery on top of that. So people are quite frivolous with their money, and if we just would hunker down and tighten up the belt a little bit, I think we could send a message to corporate America. And the tariffs are already working. Look at the huge investments that, particularly, we'll just talk about the auto manufacturers are making in America right now, billions of dollars because of the tariffs. They were working, so I guess that's why the deep state feels the need to put a big wrench in the works.
Yeah, it's embedded into American culture, financial irresponsibility. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, you could put the part of the blame on, generations of parents not teaching their children about financial responsibility, or you can put it on the the industry of marketing and pushing, every kind of product in people's face and doing it in a way that people think they need stuff that they don't really need. You could put it on social media algorithms and your data being sold and everything else. And people just, they don't pay attention to what they spend money on. Plus speaking of social media, they're seeing all their friends or whoever have this and have that, and they're keeping up with the Joneses, and it's just, it's bad, and it's why so many people are in the financial shape they are, and there's a lot of it, and we talk about the economy and the stock market and everything else, and how that's a big part of how people's portfolios look or how their finances look, but a lot of it goes back on personal responsibility and people's inability to manage and budget their own money these days. It's just back in the day, everybody used to do it, but nowadays people just kind of throw caution to the wind and they say, you know what, I think I can afford this, I think I can afford that, or that monthly payment's only X number of dollars, I can do that. And, between that and streaming services and like you said, DoorDash and all this other crap, people are just constantly broke, and it keeps them from going back to the original point, doing things like make the decision to buy American on particular products.
Yeah, and consumerism is almost a mental disorder at this point.
It is.
Retail therapy, whatever you want to call it. People getting that dopamine hit, going out, blowing their whole paycheck on stuff that they don't need, just for that couple minutes of, ooh, I just got that thing kind of feeling, But for real, like, just to simplify my message, just go out of your way to buy American products. Send a message to these people and don't spend $1,500 on T-Swizzle tickets. You know what you'd be better do for entertainment is get you some Jawbone and Jam tickets before they're all gone. That's going to be a heck of a show.
That's right. That's a heck of a deal compared to Taylor Swift tickets. You better
You
hurry
know it.
up and get them because they're dwindling fast.
All right, cuz. Well, another banger podcast last night, and happy Friday to the Hey Now Nation, and I'll let you get back to cooking, dog. Hey now.
Hey now. There's Bubba Rumble. Yeah, now that he brings it up, I guess a good time to remind you our 10-year anniversary Jawbone Jam coming up May 15th. There are limited tickets available. We have three huge bands, Cattle, Stone Horses, and Brother Kane are going to be performing, and that's a hot ticket. So they're going fast. You can only get them at Ticketmaster. Go to Ticketmaster.com, search Talk 99.5. We are putting on the show, but we are not dealing with the tickets or the entry. Normally we'd team up with a charity and you'd bring some donation or whatever, but this time the bands have to be paid, the venue has to be paid. We're not making money off y'all. We're just doing what we got to do to put on a fun show for y'all on a Friday night. May 15th, Jawbone Jam. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com or go to IronCityBhab.com and get your tickets there. Get them before they're gone because they'll be gone quickly. The whole crew will be there. You'll have Dixon and Val and Steve. You'll have myself and John Bird and then Leland and AJ. Boy, it's going to be a good time. I can't wait for it. Let me hit this break. Coming back on the other side with more of the line right after this. Maria on the text line says, good luck. People nowadays need an app to tell them where their money's going. And listen, that is a sign of the times. So what is it? Like a Rocket Money or whatever that you can I've never used one, but there's apps out there you can download and it'll tell you like what you're spending money on. It'll be like you got 5 different Netflix accounts. What are you paying for 5 Netflix accounts for? Like that's the day and age we're in. Like it's crazy. Cuz you end up, I mean, just you talk about the streaming services in particular. And I was actually dealing with this last night because I had remember we brought it up yesterday. The Alabama Solution was on HBO Max. And we don't at my house we don't use HBO Max, but I signed up for it so I could watch the documentary. And as Trish and I were doing our budget yesterday, we looked at we were coming up, we were thinking of all the things like, we got to pay for this, we got to pay for that, blah blah blah. And I thought to myself, did I cancel HBO Max? It's $10 a month, but again, if you don't pay attention to that stuff, it ends up adding up. And so I went on my account to make sure, which I had. I canceled it, but sometimes we don't do that. Yeah, and you've got multiple streaming services because you can't watch what you want in one place. Like for me, I've got Hulu with live TV. I've got a YouTube Premium subscription. I've got Paramount. We've got what else do we have? So Hulu, Netflix, Paramount, True Blue. I got True Blue to watch the Chris Hansen Takedown series. Was the How to Catch a Predator stuff. And see, I mean, there's probably like 3 or 4 more that I can't even think of. But you just, it's the day and age we live in where you've got, your money's going in 20 different directions and you don't even know. Even when it comes to concert tickets, as Bubba was talking about, you can go on and you can do this with almost any product. I mean, you can go to Target and buy stuff, or buy stuff online with things like PayPal and Klarna and Affirm, where you can spend X number of dollars and just pay it off per month. Kind of like a credit card, but without the interest. So, for instance, you go and buy concert tickets for Taylor Swift for $2,000. Well, you can pay it off in 6 months, and whatever that is per month, just pay it off per. It's just crazy what we've created in society, and it is absolutely it's kept people broke. Because if you can't afford to buy it, and listen, we've all done it, and I'm not chastising anybody, but at the end of the day, if we're living in reality, if you can't afford to buy it, and right then, you probably don't need to make monthly payments on it, with the exception of your home and your car and big purchases like that. But even DoorDash had a thing at one time where you could do DoorDash and make monthly payments on your DoorDash. And it's like, no, don't do that. That's an awful idea. Because when you have, and listen, I'm no Dave Ramsey, okay? I'm not trying to preach to you guys financial responsibility because I'm the last person you need to listen to on that front. But it's much like if you're able to purchase something without paying at that time, without having to spend the money in that moment, and you can pay for it 30 days from then, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, whatever. It's much easier for you to click that button and put it in your cart and purchase that item. If you don't have to spend the money that day, you're like, I can handle it later. I can pay for it later. It's very similar in the way that the way we use debit cards. Most people use debit cards nowadays. In a lot of cases, you have them on your phone. You just go and you tap your phone at the store and boom. It's a lot easier to even do that than it would be to hand over cash. Because if you deal in cash, if you go to the store and you have to physically hand over something that you own to the cashier, that you're not going to get back, your psyche is more of like, wow, I don't know that I want to do that or that I need to spend that. You're less likely to spend cash than you are to swipe your card, because when you swipe your card, you don't have to give it to the cashier, or the cashier doesn't give it back to you. You get to take your card back. So it almost feels like it's not costing you anything. In the back of your mind. Now, granted, you know that it's costing you money, but just the way the human mind works, that's kind of how it does. And then the credit cards, and people get in situations with the, I can rack up my credit card and I can afford to pay the minimum, and then you're paying the minimum for the rest of your life, and you're never paying off the balance, and it's just it's a whole mess, dude. It's a whole mess. And Americans, our society in particular, has become accustomed to that. We're just That's what we're used to. And because of that, people are ultimately looking for handouts, which goes back to my point about the free grocery store in New York. It's a test run, if you will, for Mamdami's grand scheme of government run grocery stores. The company Poly Market put up a grocery store that they were going to run for 5 days in New York City in the West Village. And they were offering everything in the store was free. Free. Much like some sort of communist socialist hellhole. And it worked out, as I stated, exactly how you think it worked out. I'll talk to you about it on the other side, as well as more things going on in New York that aren't going well. Okay, I know I'm all over the road here, but remember yesterday I was talking about Darren Knight, the Southern Mama comedian guy that's running for governor of Alabama as a write-in campaign. It looks like I guess he's launched his page, and it looks like that one of his main platforms is going to be the repeal of HB 445, which is the hemp bill. Interesting enough. So he just put that out. Interesting. Okay. I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't endorse. I mean, he's not going to win, but interesting enough that that's the route he's going. I mean, he's got my support on that. I'm voting for Tommy Dumperville, but it's not a bad platform to run on. So thought that was funny. 205-545-9950. So let me get this out. A pop-up shop opened up on Sunday for 5 days in the West Village in New York to offer free groceries to impoverished New Yorkers and people, just looking for food, right? This comes as Zoran Mamdani is trying to advance one of his key campaign promises, which is city-run stores aimed at lowering food costs. The store, which is called the Poly Market, was opened by Poly Market, which is a cryptocurrency-based prediction market with the same name. Poly Market offered yellow tickets granting New York City residents entry to the store. It's a very small store, by the way. And much like communist countries like Cuba, lines grew quite long in a hurry, with residents across all 5 New York City boroughs flocking to get some free stuff. And what happened next was entirely predictable by anyone who understands basic economics. The store ran out of tickets and ran out of food. People were trying to cut in line and everything else. Like it was a whole mess. Here's what Fox News said. Shoppers characterized the Poly Market, which was separate from Mamdani-led efforts to unveil city-owned subsidized grocery stores in each of the 5 New York City boroughs, as a learning moment for the mayor, as residents cited concerns with security, running out of food, and people cutting lines. According to one woman named Fatima, she said, I literally got here at 9 o'clock, and basically what they said is they ran out of tickets. Another man, Sherrod from Jamaica, Queens, said the same happened to him. He said, quote, they told me that they ran out of tickets. I couldn't get no more food. I couldn't get access to the store. Another local, Michael, said, quote, I've seen a mix of things like security needs to work on their presentation, dealing with the customers who are of florid backgrounds because they don't have the customer service expertise. Michael apparently set up a chair outside the grocery store and watched shoppers file in and out of the shop all morning, but was not positioned in line. He said that he only had 3 cups of soup left in his cupboard, but was doubtful that there would be enough groceries left at the Poly Market at the end of the day for him to stock up his pantry. So it ran out quickly, and people were tussling, if you will, fighting to get positions in line and everything else, because it was a very small grocery store with some what you would call necessities. I mean, they had fruits and vegetables, and they had milk, and they even had some household supplies like laundry detergent and stuff like that. And they ran out pretty quickly. And I don't know what the purpose of Poly Market doing this was, but if this is what New York residents want, then the city is screwed. They're absolutely screwed. But a lot of people are actually that were for Mamdani, that voted for Mamdani, are speaking out on social media and saying that this guy lied to us. that he's not going to do the free buses, that he's not going to do the government run grocery stores and this and that. And maybe he is, maybe he's not. I don't know, but as of right now, he can't even figure out how to fund what he needs to fund without raising taxes on everybody, which is the opposite of making things more affordable. He is actually in one case he's proposing to defund the police in New York in order to fund a lot of his radical agenda, his DEI agenda for his own administration. It says that he is looking to get the Big Apple on a tighter budget and seems to see cuts to the New York Police Department as a way of getting the city back on track. His predecessor, Mayor Eric Adams, proposed at the end of his term that the city hire 5,000 more NYPD officers. However, upon entering office, Mamdani moved to cancel all orders signed by Adams following his September 26th indictment in 2024, which included the proposal the proposed NYPD personnel increase. Under Adams' plan, the NYPD was set to add 300 officers in July of 26, growing to 2,500 in July of 27, and eventually increasing to 5,000 additional officers annually in July of 28. The Adams plan allowed the NYPD to deploy approximately 40,000 officers to the streets, while Mamdani's plan caps the number closer to its current level of 35. Additionally, the preliminary fiscal year 2027 budget, it notes the importance of significantly reducing current vacancies, which could include reductions in funding for the NYPD on unfilled positions. One New York-based publication noted that Mamdani's budget proposed a $22 million decrease to the NYPD's budget next year. And when you see that and see what he's looking to actually pay for, it's pretty wild. Let me list this off to you real quick. So the NYC budget is $127 billion, right? He wants $5.6 million for the Office of Racial Equity. He wants $4.6 million for the Commission on Racial Equity. He wants $835,000 for the Commission on Gender Equity. He wants $260,000 plus for a Department of Education Chief Diversity Officer. He wants over $300,000 for 3 New York Fire Department Civilian Chief Diversity Inclusion Officers, and $118,000 plus for a New York Fire Department Chief Diversity Inclusion Officer. So I guess he wants almost $500K for 4 FDNY Civilian Chief Diversity Inclusion Officers. I guess is what that means. That's pretty. That's pretty well for somebody that's that concerned about the budget. It seems like kind of a bad idea. New York, listen, and I believe he'll do it. I actually do, because this guy is from the outside. He's not in the business of pleasing politicians or bigwigs. He's a radical Joe Blow that will, he's I think he's much like Bernie Sanders in the sense of what he says he actually believes. Now, can he accomplish those things? Who knows? Maybe he can, maybe he can't. But he sure as hell is going to try. He's going to try it. And New York is going to suffer for it. And maybe the New Yorkers that are left, a lot of the common sense people have left that city already. And they're like, hey, I don't even want to see what happens here. And it's left them with the people that have no idea what they're voting for. And now you will suffer the repercussions, if you will. Noto Roofing, N-O-T-O roofing.com, noto roofing.com. That is My roofing guys. That's right. You know all about them because I talk about them every day, and I talk very highly of them because they are the best of the best. If you live in a house, which most of you do, you have a roof, and your roof is not just going to sustain itself. It's got to be checked out, it's got to be inspected. And these are the guys that can do it and do it for absolutely nothing. As we're talking about free stuff, here's just some free stuff: free roof inspection, free complimentary roof tune up. And if they find out that there are issues up there, they're going to let you know. They're not going to go up there and fix them without telling you and send you a bill. They're going to scope it out and they're going to say, hey, here's what we got. And if you want to get them fixed, they'll tell you how dire it is or how important it is that you get it fixed. If it's something that can wait, they'll tell you that. But if it can't wait, they'll say, hey, this is what you got. If you want us to do it, let us know. We'll set a date and send our guys out here to get that bad boy fixed. Maybe you want a whole new roof. Who knows? Everybody's different. Everybody's got a different situation. But these guys are the best of the best, and they're going to help you out. Whether it's your home, your barn, or your rental home, or your business, or whatever, Noto's gotcha. Just call them. 205-848-2299. That's 205-848-2299 and online, notoroofing.com. Two zero 545-9950. 545-9950. Other things happening yesterday was the release of a House Oversight Committee deposition, actually. It was a 5-hour deposition of L Brand's co-founder Les Wexner, as he's known. Les Wexner is an American billionaire. I think he's the main guy of Bath and Body Works. He is the owner of, or used to be, man, I guess he's still the owner of Victoria's Secret. I think he was one of the main guys for Abercrombie and Fitch and a bunch of other high-end, clothing, retail, whatever. He was one of Jeffrey Epstein's closest associates. And Jeffrey Epstein was tasked with managing large sums of money and was granted power of attorney over Les Wexner's fortune. And so, because of those things, Congress and the Oversight Committee found it prudent that they interview Les Wexner and get information from him as to what he knew about Jeffrey Epstein and everything else. And again, it was 5 hours long. Les Wexner, by the way, is like 88 years old. He's an old man. But they wanted to know, like, what he knew about Jeffrey Epstein. He's been to the island before, and like, what did he know? What information can he provide to the Oversight Committee and everything else? And I would dare say he provided too much information for his own good, based on his attorney's reaction, because at one point during the deposition, his attorney stops the questioning and leans over to him and whispers in his ear, quote, "I'll effing kill you if you answer another question with more than 5 words." I was like, it was caught on a hot mic, and I was like, oh, that's not good. This was done, by the way, at, I believe that they conducted this oversight hearing at Ohio State University. Because, again, Lex Westner's 88 years old. I guess he couldn't make it to Washington or whatever. But they brought congressmen and women to that location to question him. And there were a lot of questions asked, such as his, again, relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and some information that he voluntarily gave up, such as Jeffrey Epstein was a financial advisor for the Rothschild family, which was previously undisclosed. He said that L.A.D. Rothschild, that Jeffrey Epstein was a financial advisor for her and the Rothschild's family in France, which is a pretty big bombshell, which I think for the people that know about the Rothschild's family, you know that there's some pretty evil intentions that tie back to that. So at the same time, that is a bombshell. You probably shouldn't be surprised by that. But the Democrats that were there for that hearing, they had one objective and one objective only. And you know exactly what that was, is to find that tie between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. And because Les Wexner knew so much about Jeffrey Epstein, they thought, okay, this is our opportunity. This is a billionaire that's mingling with the money people in New York like Donald Trump and everything else. And this is our opportunity to actually get the goods, the behind the scenes, the evidence that we finally needed to get Donald Trump and show that he was best buds with Jeffrey Epstein and trafficking women and underage girls with Epstein, because I don't know that they actually believe that, but that's their MO. That's still what they're clinging on to, even though everything else points in the other direction. So when it came to Jasmine Crockett's turn to ask Les Wexner questions, she took this route right here.
Did you ever spend time with Epstein and Donald Trump?
Together?
Yes.
I would answer this question accurately. I I would go to some of the Victoria's Secret fashion shows because it's very important to the brand. At some of the fashion shows, Jeffrey was there and some Trump was there. And I remember, because Trump would always introduce himself to me. And I always thought it was kind of odd that he was at the fashion show because he had nothing to do with fashion. So the coincidence of them being together at an event, it could have been that, but I have no specific recollection. They never had a social or like a drink or a cup of coffee, something, that would put them together.
Okay, so just to clarify, because I want to make sure we're clear on the record, you're saying that you can recall instances potentially where Epstein and Trump were together and you were in their presence, or just a random scenario where Epstein may be there, Trump may be there separately, and then you would know?
It would be at random. That would be accurate. If it happened, but I have no specific recollection.
Okay. Did you ever see or become aware of President Trump having a sexual relationship with a person who was introduced to him by Epstein or Maxwell?
No.
Has Donald Trump ever discussed Jeffrey Epstein with you?
Nope.
Did Jeffrey Epstein ever discuss Donald Trump with you?
I would describe it, he would name drop it. So he would say things like, I know President Clinton, or I know the Pope, or I know God, or, or I know you. It was that kind of name dropping, but never, I can't remember a specific place, but Jeffrey dropped a lot of names.
Okay. So to clarify, you believe he's specifically dropped Donald Trump's name?
No, I'm saying it could have, and I don't remember.
Okay. Did Epstein ever share any information with you about Donald Trump's sexual activities?
No.
Do you have a relationship with Donald Trump?
No.
But you've met him before.
He introduced himself to me at the fashion show a couple of times, but I wouldn't say, hello, how are you? Like you say, met, like in, we knew each other. We don't know each other. He wouldn't. I'd be shocked if he remembered me.
Okay. And I know that you specifically mentioned the island, that you have been to Jeffrey's Island. Do you recall seeing any of those persons that Jeffrey Epstein would name drop while you were on his island?
No, nobody was there but Abigail, myself, Jeffrey, maybe I left somebody cutting grass or something. There was a maintenance person, I think, but I don't specifically recall. I know for sure I was there, Abigail was there, Jeffrey was there.
Are you sure Donald Trump wasn't on Jeffrey Epstein's island? Are you super sure? This is the desperation, man. The desperation of these people. They're just getting after it. But hey, whatever. Whatever. They didn't get a whole lot. I mean, there was some stuff in there. They just didn't get what they wanted, which was dirt on Donald Trump, which does not exist. One day they'll learn that. There is, however, a new investigation in New Mexico that's been launched into the bodies of two minors allegedly strangled to death at Epstein's ranch, Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. This was something that was revealed in the Epstein files, and they're now actually looking into it to see if they can find the bodies of these two individuals that have been relayed by let's see, it was put out by some individual. The Zorro Ranch is the target of a larger investigation by the state trying to uncover the extent of Epstein's abuse on the property. Per Reuters, the email about the bodies was sent to a New Mexico radio host, Eddie Aragon, by a former ranch employee who requested Bitcoin in exchange for video evidence of Epstein having relations with minors. Aragon sent that information to the FBI. It stated specifically that the girls were buried somewhere in the hills outside the Zorro. Their cause of death was, quote, by strangulation during rough fetish sex. And that news comes from just after Prince Andrew has been arrested in the United Kingdom in relation to his ties with Epstein. So who knows if even Prince Andrew has something to do with it. But that on the Epstein front as well. So we'll see how that plays out. Trump is apparently going to be showing up at the White House press briefing in a matter of moments to respond to the tariff ruling by the Supreme Court this morning. We'll bring that to you and more right after this.